Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. This meeting is being recorded for our public records and will be posted on the Arlington County Commission meetings YouTube page. Avoid sharing any personal information that you would not like to be made public. And also friendly reminder, commissioners joining virtually and participants to please have your cameras on and please state your name before speaking as well. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone, virtually and here today. This is Karen Odon, and I want to welcome you and call the Disability Advisory Commission March 9th meeting to order. Do we have any public comments?
We don't.
Okay, no public comment. So I want to welcome JD for attending our meeting, and you're very generous with your time. I thought we only had you 20 minutes, so I'm asking Marilyn to speak briefly. She heads up our code enforcement working group, and I really wanted to make sure you heard this, and kudos to Mr. Amiri and the county staff. So over to you, Marilyn.
Yeah, for anybody that's attending from the DAC that they didn't know it, I put out an extensive email to Mr. Amiri as follow-up because he came to our meeting last August 18th. And one of the things that we had wanted, that he thought he could not come into the buildings to look at the interior issue. So I explained to him in that email that subsequently we decided, well, wait, it's too hard to try to get somebody in to come, and especially in his role, to come in to these buildings to see what the issue is. So we developed the briefing with videos so that with Elizabeth in it, elderly persons in it, I'm in it, other people are in it, a lady with a baby carriage is in it. And so I sent him the email that gave him the whole background of everything that we had done in the last 8 months, actually. From August 18th, November 3rd, we got the briefing and I explained to him why we did the briefing that includes the videos, and reminded him about the urgency of the issue, is that buildings are being designed and built right now throughout the county and the state that are not going to have accessibility for interior doors, for what people are paying for in residential areas that are not homes, but apartments and condominiums they can't have access to. So the video proves that. So we went through the urgency. We talked about how we'd met with JD. Thank you again, JD. And what your recommendation was, and you'll hear more about that in a minute. One of your recommendations, JD, was to get brief legislators on this issue, but subsequently we heard that Mr. Amiri had a working group as the chief inspector, and also connections that he has with DMV. So what happened was I emailed him with all this background and reminded him and sent the briefing to him, and to get an update on whether he had this working group. And what was the status of the construction code changes. Subsequently, found out that he said it was already passed. It's already gone. It was too late. But when I walked him through the briefing and brought him up to speed, and he clicked on the videos, and he clicked on several that I walked him through, he all of a sudden said, "I'm behind you 500%. Behind the DAC, 500%. And so I was thrilled to hear that. And his recommendations were very specific, and they followed some of what JD had recommended, but a lot more specific as far as who. So what he recommended was, his strong recommendations were the following. Initiate a joint meeting if possible. I don't know that would be possible, with Delegate Elizabeth Bennett Parker from Alexandria, who's supposedly going to become a senator, Senator Barbara Favola, Delegate Patrick Hope, and then Karen had mentioned also Delegate Adele McClure. So that was one recommendation. His next recommendation was to initiate meetings with 2 Arlington County board members, 2-on-2, so it's not a public meeting. And knowing that JD has already been involved, he can come again. But the other thing he said, he wants to attend all the meetings. So he's really, I think, invested in what we want to do. He said it's not too late. It's too bad that the construction code had already been passed. But I think he's on board now. I think as a result of seeing what the real issues are through the videos and the whole briefing, and the history that we have put together, which is all the dates and times, and the fact that we put in legislative priorities to county staff, that Karen had gone to the ECNV meeting with Mary Dooley, Legislative Director, and Delegate Patrick Hope. I mean, there's been a lot that's been going on this particular topic, and we're not giving up. So I think the harder part that's next is to, and now I'll come back, anybody have any questions, but since it's been, I know nothing like this all this takes time and patience is required. But I think the issue is going to be how we establish the meetings and who does the work to get the meetings established or set up with all these individuals. Courtney, I think, has received it, but I think it's going to take myself, Karen, and I maybe even thinking about the strategy of how we put together the purpose of the meeting and why it's so critical without just sharing the briefing. And that briefing needs to be compressed, videos deleted because it's so big and hard to transmit. And then I think Karen mentioned that maybe it could get up on YouTube if we knew what the rules were. Then you could just have somebody click on YouTube and see the whole briefing that has the live videos in it. But again, to reiterate what we already, all of us know on the DAC, is that people are unable to access, whether they have disability or elderly or have a baby carriage or groceries, cannot get into all the amenities or use all the facilities or all the doors without any buttons or anything else that we talked about. And we've provided a solution that is a hand waiver. He brought up, well, that might not be a good idea because people have upper body mobility issues or challenges. They wouldn't be able to do it. So one of the things I would suggest is taking the hand off the hand waivers thing that's on the doors, but it works great. You can use an arm, you can use part of your head, you can do whatever to open the doors with that. We had a significant conversation though about which, Elizabeth, you remember how when you use the fob to open the door, the security part to the door to any of the amenities, it was either too far away, or if it was, it didn't have the timing to open. He said, boy, that's a mess. He said that when they're wiring the building, that should be part of the code. So in other words, he's on board. He says the code needs to be really specific to include not only the weight of the doors, the access to the doors, and the ability to have the readers for the fobs that open the door contiguous and safely and timed so the door can open. I personally don't think this is a no-brainer, but nothing will happen without the change to the code. And he agreed with that. So the hard part is bringing all these political and board people on board and getting that scheduled and getting them up to speed. But if he's in the meeting, I think he will be a good advocate for us.
Marilyn,
yes.
I'm open the floor in just a minute. This is Karen and Don. From your perspective, what are the steps DAC should be taking between now and July 1st, the close of the fiscal year?
Get the meeting set up. And I think that's going to be a challenge for getting all these people. You're not going to, I think he thought it should be all of them together, even the 2 and 2 on the board to be easier, probably 2 of us with 2 on the board. But I think getting, Senator Favola and all these other people together in one room might be the bigger challenge. So I think we'll take what we can get as far as our role, but I would like to have the support of some administration. I'm not sure, at least I need to have all the information, or we need to have all the information of how to contact these people, who the admins are, and we need to be, as a DAC, have a clear case and have it reviewed as exactly what we're going to say to these people even before we meet with them. Because I think the briefing says the whole story from beginning to end.
What is our ask since the Virginia Construction Code already got updated without this?
Okay, he did say, I don't know if I made that clear, where he said it's never too late. And one of the other things he says, well, maybe they should call an emergency meeting. And I thought, well, given our environment today,
Yeah.
and all their other priorities, where is this going to fall? So again, I think we need to keep the word urgent, which is at the front of our briefing, up front. The reason it's urgent, and that's what I told him, is that design and builds are happening right now, and fixes are after the fact or don't happen, and nobody has the money to do it. people are paying for this ability to get into the building through their homeowners association or their rent, and they can't use it, or that's not safe to use. So it took me a while to bring him on board once he started seeing the videos, though he was way on board, which is what he could not come into a building to see it because he can only look at the exterior of the building, exterior doors. That's and the 5-pound weight if somebody complained. So now he said he's a 41-year career focused on ADA, Fair Housing Act. He was involved with the civil rights part of this. So we've got an advocate there, and I think we need to move relatively quickly. So I don't know, JD, do you have anything to add? This follows with what you had said before, only and just he brought in more people.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Marilyn. I'm gonna back up a second, just so I can be clear. I have understanding. At the end of the day, it's state legislation that needs to get changed.
Say that one more time, JD. I couldn't hear you.
State legislation that needs to get changed.
It's the state
Construction code.
The state construction code, right?
That's it. The state construction code. And I kept saying, is that what we need? You agree? That's where we were headed, specifically to that one code 1105. And he said, yes, I agree. That is the place to change it.
And that's changed through legislation.
No,
Yes,
it would
not
go-
a
right, it would go-
process.
It's not a legislative process.
It's a working, it's a committee, but legislators can indicate their support for these changes.
Right.
Who is responsible for updating the code? Where does that fall?
Well, initially it fell through, from our perspective in Arlington, it was go through Sharir, I can't always pronounce his name, Mr. Amiri. And then he was going to take that forward to the legislature, and it became our legislative priorities that we put in. But
Right.
somewhere along the way, it didn't happen.
Okay. Okay. I'm just trying to figure out how we get to a point and who do we need to address to make sure the code is changed at the end of the day? Who has that authority to change the code?
Well, I think Mr. Amiri is the best resource because he or his staff have served on these committees, because what happens is the International Building Code gets
Yeah.
revised every 3 years, and then the states follow, and they just review what's revised. Do they add? Do they take away? They put it out for comment.
Mhm.
And according to him, this ship has sailed. He told us before
Right.
it was in process. So it's actually ongoing because there's always the opportunity with whoever this head group is in Richmond. And it seems to me, this is not just an Arlington
No.
County issue. This is a larger issue.
All right. Brian, you have your hand raised?
Bryant?
Yeah.
We hear you. Now we don't.
Fix it.
Now we can, I think.
Now we can. It's coming in and out.
Perfect. All right.
Good.
Sorry. I just moved over this weekend, so I'm currently working off my hotspot for this meeting. So, apologies. Marilyn, I did want to mention I met another citizen who is facing similar issues at their affordable housing complex, Queens Court. From what I understand, Queens Court was specifically designed to be, a type A affordable housing, which is the accessible housing type as defined by HUD, I believe. So he is willing to also provide additional testimony and photographic and videographic evidence.
Right.
So I will then I'll connect you two on an email
Okay.
if that's okay with you.
That'd be great. Thank you. That'd be great. We know all the backup we got.
So
Yeah.
this meeting, go ahead, Brian. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's like their partner is wheelchair bound, and the accessible pathways are next to like their mail area, that is continuously cluttered. There is no, I believe there's no push button either in their apartment or the entrance to the building itself. So, yeah,
Whoa.
we'll definitely let him provide more information, but yeah, we'll send out an email. But other than that, yeah, just wanted to include that update.
And in fact, just real quick, go back, one of the videos in there that I don't think that he got to see, although I asked him to, recommended that he go through all the videos, is when Elizabeth was at the mailroom, where the mail is too, all the boxes are too high. How would you'd have to have those prearranged so that someone can reach, that's wheelchair bound, to reach those particular with their key to get that. Again, the building that we were talking about was this, she is only 5 years old. And an older building was the one that fixed it with the hand waiver. Anyway, okay, that'd be great. Thanks, Brant.
And Justin, I think you want to speak. Go ahead. Take yourself off mute.
I'm going to lower my shade.
So I brought this up to Karen and Courtney about Gray Star's property on South Courthouse, about some accessibility issues that we could tackle on. As of right now, I am filing a complaint as soon as tomorrow to get this rectified with the county board or with the county, but it does lead into more accessibility issues that we have to address with housing in general, which not many people would, which does help lead into our case that we need to bring more accessibility to apartment or to housing complexes. Literally not having access to the mailboxes is not particularly ideal. But yeah.
Okay, Justin, I'd like to hear about that, or you can let the DAC know. I mean, I think whatever we have in our back pocket, I think, or our front pocket going forward is going to be helpful.
Is that a point of me being whipper brown? I'm sorry.
So Justin, if you can communicate and share that information with Marilyn, and my understanding is it's two sets of issues. One is parking enforcement that Courtney, I believe you forwarded that to whoever you needed to, and then the other would be the property management, the company. So Justin, especially on the second issue, if you go to Maryland, I think what I'm hearing is these are 3 cases and they're different kinds of housing. So it's a representative sample.
Right.
Yeah.
So, real quick before we probably pivot to something more on the agenda, I just want to say, I have communicated with the clerk, Mason, as it relates to commissions and their engagement with elected officials outside of the county board. So, we have to take a staged approach, quite honestly. I think in this particular instance where we're talking about reaching out, I will first want to, we talked about the 2x2s with some of our board members, Marilyn. I can definitely help facilitate that. And I think it'd be very beneficial to get them up to speed, on the issue at hand. And then from there, let me help guide what that next period of engagement may look like. I foresee perhaps an opportunity whereby at a DAC meeting that we could perhaps invite those elected officials to come in at a time to be determined and hear the case at hand. And that'll probably be the most appropriate, but I also want to make sure I speak with the county board. We speak with our county board members first, and then we'll take that next position and going to the legislators. Also, we have a legislative liaison here by the name of Brian Esty, who may want to be brought in to the loop on this as well. So whenever we do decide to have that meeting with one of our 2x2s with board members, we'll invite Brian to attend one of those meetings so he can be up to speed. Again, he is the county's legislative liaison. You may have worked with him, you met with him before. So I just want to make sure everyone's this is socialized, folks have an innate understanding of what the bottom line up front is, what the ask is. And when it comes to the code, for me, right, it's about understanding that, yeah, we can make these changes perhaps throughout the year. Where does the buck stop, excuse me. Who is the decision maker? And so whether we get strategy from our local legislators, from us, all at one time, with these cases that we have before us to showcase what's needed. I'm all for it. So what I would need, Marilyn, is definitely perhaps a one-pager, just a quick one-pager.
Sure.
The videos, that's okay. I mean, I think they're nice. To the extent we can get them on the YouTube, I think that would be very beneficial to anyone. If we can actually get that loaded, perhaps, Courtney, to the DAC drop page at some point. We can talk about it later.
Yeah.
But I envision, because this is content associated with a certain item of interest on the agenda. So we should have all that content available for anybody who wants to see it. And the video is actually part of that. So we need to work through how we get those videos loaded, because they are part of this conversation. Okay.
And,
I'm gonna
go
just
ahead.
clarify, JD, can I just clarify?
Yeah, clarify.
So first, you're saying that you would help facilitate the 2x2 with the board,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Okay, and then, but do that before any before we do
Yes.
invite all the lists that Mr. Amiri recommended.
Right. And I have all those contacts. I know them all well. But
Okay.
before we invite them, let's speak with the county board first.
Okay, and then who's the liaison? You said Brian something?
Brian Esty? Yeah.
ESTE, somebody, anyway. So he's a liaison for,
I'm gonna send you his contact information. How about that?
okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
Email it to you.
And Marilyn, I'm traveling. I'm perfectly fine with you taking the lead and keeping me and everybody else
Sure.
posted. And I did speak to him when I was crafting our legislative agenda, and he's super, super helpful.
Brian,
Yeah.
you're talking about Brian, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Brian
Brian is very helpful. Brian, before he served in this role, he was Delegate Alfonso Lopez, Chief of Staff. So he understands all the nuance associated with the General Assembly. And again, he's our legislative liaison for the county, for Arlington County. I'm gonna
Okay,
send
that's
you-
what I missed. I missed that he was the legislative liaison. Okay. Okay,
All right, it's over to you, JD.
It's over to me already. Okay, well, look, I don't know, when was the last time I was here? What month was it? I try to come.
I don't remember.
Well, when you have 25 commissions and or advisory boards, I say it all the time. It's you can take those commissions in of itself, and every night of the month be somewhere.
it was November 17th.
There we go. She got it. So look, I'm going to take the liberty to say a few things. First, look, I just counted the number. You have everyone from the commission here tonight, with the exception of one person. And Madam Chair, I just want to thank you. I'm going to get to the team, but if people like folks like Brian and all of you, y'all have been around, many of you, long before I showed up. You've been working hard on the Disability Advisory Commission. And I understand it's been going up and down, and every year or so you get a new, liaison. It's like, okay, do anybody listen to us, right? I mean, do you care about what we say? And I will tell you, like I said last year when I first came here, I'm in my second year, I care. So thank you for putting together your strategic plan for FY 27-28. I heard that is moving swiftly, and just the fact that you're all coming together and working on that is commendable. I also want to talk about the role that y'all have been playing and Karen, more especially, many others, with the Community Commission on Aging. I was at their meeting last month, kind of unannounced, because that's another meeting that I I'm the liaison too. I just popped in and guess who was there? Karen. But thank you for focusing on safe transportation and all the different pedestrian options, and for our seniors and the entire community. I think collaboration, we heard about that earlier. I'm always about collaborative efforts, and I think Commissioner Agent and Disabilities Advisory Commission working together in unity will go a long way. Also, thank you for what you've been doing with this grant cycle and your recommendations. And Commissioner Maryland, thank you so much for your hard work and taking the lead and putting forward the after action review and your recommendations for improvement. Yeah, the chair has been keeping me abreast. We have a touch point every month about what's going on in this commission, and I'm very thankful. So to Brian and Laura, thank you also for your advocacy and your legislative work that you put together in this recent package. And Justin, your advocacy, my friend, is not only on social media where I see you, you text me, you call board members, but what you do when it comes to ADA enforcement and at the county level is commendable. And thank you for being a voice, because people know who you are. And I want to talk about the snow removal. All right, real quick. It's not a joking matter. I know I'm laughing, but in a county of 243,000 people, the amount of phone calls, the amount of text messages, the amount of emails that we received were, tremendous. That said, I understand the frustration that many of you had and many of our community had when it came to snow removal, and hearing from our residents who were disabled or have were unable to get out and leave their homes. That hit hard. I know there was a couple instances, and one in particular where Karen reached out to me, and I think that very afternoon we were able to get some things taken care of. But being able to not leave your home, to leave your home and work and do the things that you have to do daily, we recognize that, and we also recognize you, Commissioner Bryant, for your participation in all that advocacy. We have work to do. That Snow Creek that people are calling it, I've never seen anything about like that. And I lived in Europe for 7 years and I saw lots of snow, but it snowed and that stuff was like rocks. In fact, I bumped my truck into the front of it and put a dent in it. Yeah. I know we're live, this is recorded, but it was serious. And so we're going to have an after action report that the county manager is going to bring forward here in a few months, because he's been asked by the county board, and also we're working alongside APS because there's also some issues when it comes to schools and this whole inclement weather plan, right? What do we do when it happens again? And guess what? It's going to happen again at some point in time. It may happen again next year. Who knows? But there's a lot of lessons learned. Even when it comes to places like government facilities, sidewalks, where snow is pushed, was pushed in front of some folks' driveways, blocking their cars and they couldn't get out of their own driveways. A lot of that was contracted out, I understand it. But I will tell you this, we did not lose a life here in Arlington during this inclement weather. And I'm grateful for that. But there's much more work to be done. And the emails and the communication that you sent in to me, just know that I swiftly moved those emails and that communication, even though we had a portal that folks can apply and put their request in. I was able to facilitate some of that, to move a little faster than usual, especially when it comes to our persons with disabilities. Brian, you made a good point about our, 2100, the Bozeman Center here. I went and looked at that myself. And yeah, it was, and it just so happened by the time I got out there to go look at it, guess who was out there? A contractor with shovel, right? Moving the snow. But it should not take that level of effort, especially when it comes to our hub, our facility, and because someone could get injured, especially going up that ramp. And thank you for elevating that. And look, that's what I'm here for. So a lot of lessons to be learned. Again, thank you for your advocacy. And we recognize that because of you, many of you, we were able to help some people out in our community. Next, I want to talk about the audit, the STAR audit. As you know, next month, our auditors are coming. I think perhaps Wayne, maybe Shirley but they're going to come next month and talk about and give you a presentation. So that's been confirmed. And also, you're going to have DAC is going to be confirmed at the Commission on Aging, Transportation. We'll present at the next meeting. Next, we have, I've heard that you have some scheduled presentations from the Disability Service Organization at upcoming meetings. Lighthouse for the Blind, an organization that that met with me a few weeks ago. And I said, hey, look, they're looking for collaborations. And I said, how much do you know about our Disability Advisory Commission? They were like, no, not really. I said, sure. Well, hey, let's make this connection. So we've made that connection. You know, folks who are, you know, low visibility or blind, you know, these organizations like Lighthouse for the Blind are looking for ways, and our Stomping Ground are going to be coming in May to this commission to speak with you and see how you can work together. Lastly, I want to give a shout out to Andrew. Andrew, right?
Yes.
This flyer right here that I had a chance to look at is amazing. And this is a flyer that talks about, it's a recruiting flyer. You may not see it from here, but I'm sure Karen, I think she may have sent it out. But we're looking to get, you know, I think 7 or 8 more people. That's what Karen wants on this commission. And I think this is a tremendous flyer, which I'm going to take to staff and say, see what we can do to get this out. I like it. I haven't looked at the QR code, but what does the QR code take us to? Right to
Just
the
application.
to the application page. But it, you know, everything you need to know is right there in front of you. You know what the commissioners do, and all those great things. So let's give a round of applause to Andrew, or a virtual clap for putting this together. You know, a lot of folks still this day, as I go out and talk about commissions, I talk to them about opportunities to you know, work alongside or volunteer with the, and some folks think, you know, we have commissions. I'm like, what? So we're going to get this out. We're going to see how many folks it drives or brings, at least for applications. And I want to thank you again for putting this together. Lastly, I would just say, as we're into a very tough budget cycle, I have received the recommendation for our budget for ADA Senior Liaison. I will be you know, doing my best to work that into the budget to see if it's doable this year. As you know, we're facing a very significant shortfall in revenue. So adding new positions is always a challenge, but trust me that your work will not go in vain. I will clearly lay out, articulate, and make the business case for why the ADA Senior Liaison position is much needed. We're talking about some issues early on where our ADA Liaison will be duly suited to do some of the work, Maryland, and going around in our community to evaluate and look at some of these projects and actually do more work at looking at development and plans that are coming in through the Planning Commission and alike, SPRC, LRPC. So we're going to see. I know, you know, many folks will argue that it can be done, this road can be done as a collateral assignment. I'm not buying what they're selling on that. Just to be clear about that, I think we need someone who's fully dedicated to the ADA aspect because it is robust. It is again, and it's a lot of work. And honestly, to do it right, it's a full-time job. It's a full-time job. So I'm gonna see what I can do to advocate on that. Not to take away from all the great work that Courtney's doing. Thank you so much, Courtney. But Courtney, you can't do it all yourself. All right, and I realize that. And so with that being said, I am watching my clock, and I want to be mindful and open it up to any questions you may have. But you need to give yourself a round of applause. Daylight savings time has already kicked in. You know, my granddaughter, who's almost 5 next month, she's with us for a few days, and she just came to the house and she says, abuelo, you know, in Spanish, that's grandpa. It's, you know, I learned about daylight savings time today at preschool. All this light out here, look at what time it is. It's 6:30. It's supposed to be dark. And so it kind of throws people off. I get it, but you are here and you're going to be here for a little while tonight. And I don't take this for granted. And I'm very appreciative. So on behalf of our chair, of the county board, Matt DeFerranti, our vice chair, Maureen Coffey, and the entire team, Takis and Susan. I just want to thank you. That's on behalf of the board and our team. Thank you for your work. We know you're not getting paid for doing this, but you want to make a difference in Arlington. And my job, quite honestly, again, is to not let your work be in vain. Because what good is there to have a commission if I, on the county board as your liaison, is not taking the work that you're doing and working endlessly on and trying to adopt it and put it into policy? That's what we have you here, because you represent the community. And if I'm failing in that regard, or we're failing in that regard, I would expect you to say something to me, and I know Karen will give you a right in the ship and let me know. I know Brian would do the same thing, but we have some work to do, and there's a lot of competing interests, right? We have, issues going on with food insecurity, home insecurity. The unemployment rate is skyrocketing in Arlington, right? Loss of federal funding coming in our community. People don't know where, if they're going to even be in Arlington or can afford to live here. So those are a lot of, societal, issues, but we got to protect the social safety net of our people, because you've earned your place here in Arlington, regardless of your race, color, creed, religion, socioeconomic dynamic. And I'm here to try to help you in that regard. And in fact, all of Arlington. So with that, thank you again. Thank you for your service. Thank you, Linda, and everyone for so much of your time. EC, we got a group coming. Who's the group? I got one more thing here. Who is it here?
ECNB.
NCNB. Did you speak with them again? Laura, I know Laura said she's a part of it, but then you were not. That's right. That was a different meeting. I had a meeting with them a few weeks ago.
No, I was not.
Where I brought ECB in to meet with some of the county staff in our community engagement team outreach, so they can get to understand like what they do. Did you hear about that?
I was forwarded, Stephanie Bellows.
Stephanie Bellows. Okay, good. So it's working. It's all working. You were great. So I'm trying to do what I can to help the entire community, not just in the DAC, but how the DAC is adjacent and kind of works with external organizations, and hence also work with the county, right? In many ways. Opening up those lines of communication. With that, I'll turn it back over to the chair.
So for commissioners, I know two keen areas of interest for us are snow removal.
Yeah.
And then obviously our strong justification for this accessibility ADA senior liaison. So I want to open up the floor for those two topics, and then any other questions you have for JD. So Marilyn, your hand is up.
Yeah, I think the only thing there's one other thing that I would love to see. I think we talked about it at one of the DAC meetings, and maybe this is information for JD he didn't know about, is a directive that might be needed, because when you were bringing up about the design reviews, all the different design reviews, and we've been attending those. And quite often we're finding that it's just too late. In other words, we still want to go into preventive versus cure. And by the time we even get to those boards, without users testing the design or users testing after the design, whether it's road work or a building, there's a lot of decisions that are already made, and we're outnumbered. And I think Elizabeth and I have been to them. I think that Karen's been to a couple of those. So we're looking at maybe throwing up a flag of a directive that would be in draft that would say, if there was a way to get users involved that have a disability to test the design even farther back, versus all the way till by the time we get to invited to those meetings, either it's a bit too late.
You're talking, not to cut you off, but you're talking more almost at the conceptual design phase.
Correct.
When you get into
Before,
kind of like when CPHD either approves site plan or whatever it may be. Early.
Yeah.
Early. Well, you know what, Marilyn, not to be, sarcastic, but I am a little bit, it's going to be a long line, because there's a lot of folks that want that same thing, especially in the community. And I think there's a way from a commission perspective that we may be able to do that, but duly noted. And I hear you. And I think we need to figure out what does right look like. Cause I agree. It comes, coming in at the fourth quarter when things are kind of seem to be baked. What really can you change? Right. There are a few things But
Sure.
structurally, and things like that, it becomes a little difficult, especially when you start getting into costs associated with build out and what a developer per se may think it's going to cost them to build. We see that in environmental shaping, we see that in parking, we see that in street design, we see that in
Right.
so many things. So when it comes to ADA and looking at the project in and of itself, we need some folks that are asking the hard questions about the design, even at the conceptual stage. I get it, and I agree. Back to you, Marilyn. I'm sorry.
Karen, is it okay
Thank
if I mention the flyer I'm putting together?
Yes.
Okay, great. Sorry, 1 second. Yes, hi, I'm Elizabeth Prio and.
Oh, yeah, I know you, Elizabeth.
Yeah. And at Karen's suggestion, and I think we have discussed it as a board here, we, having gone to a heck of a lot of SPRC meetings and having the exact same concerns as Marilyn, and it sounds like all the other groups you mentioned have, we decided that rather than try to, say, take up the SPRC meeting time, because what we always hear is these meetings are only about the external. As a matter of fact, the one I went to last month said that and said, we'll be discussing beneficiary, I forget the term they use, but it's a particular term. We'll be talking about consumer benefits at another meeting, but
Yeah.
they're not concerned. So what we've decided, and I'm working on, is a set of standard questions that we would like to set to the builder agencies or whomever it is that the builder agencies, that where prior to the beginning of the SPRC meeting process, they would be prepared to answer these questions in writing and
Yeah.
send them to either someone on the board or to the DAC. And that way we don't hit the problem of every transportation and environmental group wanting to have advanced input. We could just have them answer questions, and we try to keep it as close to the Fair Housing Act as the ADA as possible.
Yeah.
So it doesn't look like we're asking for something extra. Of course, I have inserted a few questions in there that aren't necessarily code, but I've said in it, these aren't necessarily code, but we hope you would consider to see how they would answer. So do you think that we might get a little bit more oomph if we?
So that's a great question, Elizabeth. And what I would ask Karen is, let's see if we can bring in, and I'm gonna go to the top. Let's put in a request for Samia Bird, who's at CPHD, to come in and meet with the DAC, or she may come herself, or she may send a representative. But I think, we definitely need to bring in our subject matter experts from CPHD to talk about the art of the possible, whether at which stage could we potentially, as the DAC, introduce a questionnaire either to developers or anyone, right, to answer the mail on a set number of questions as relates to ADA compliance, Fair Act, right, early on into process, and see if that's even doable without, going outside of any kind of policy or directive. So I want to make sure you get the right information on that, but I would invite Samia Bird. We could talk a little bit later
Okay.
for that. But
That is classic. That is exactly what my husband, Eric Goodman, who also goes to all these SPRC meetings for pedestrian and bicycle, that's exactly who he said I should send it to
oh,
first
yeah.
before
See?
sending it to our committee.
And I
Yeah.
want to add, and Brian, you go, and we
And
haven't
I
forgotten.
had something else when I had my hand up. I had one more thing.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I just got stressed out and forgot it. So
I'll come back to you, Elizabeth.
all right.
I just want to add that Elizabeth and I were at an SPRC meeting, and the developer was very excited and said they were building 494 units. And the green spaces would include native plants, and they couldn't answer the fundamental question of how many ADA units were going to be in the building. That's just unacceptable. And to me, it also makes the case to have an embedded accessibility ADA senior liaison who has that knowledge and experience in either architecture, planning, working with local government, to know once that is even a project is conceptualized, to say, excuse me, this is fundamental. These questions, these are not nice to haves. This is required. This should not come up at an SPRC and the developer can't answer the question.
Yeah.
So, Brian,
Okay, has jogged my mind. I was also along with that, we have talked about an ADA specialist, and I really think that is not accurately expressing what we need. I can't think of a better term besides disability coordinator. But the thing is, it's a lot more than just ADA. It's Fair Housing Act issues that come up. I've been very involved in the Transportation Futures Commission, and it's tons of transportation issues. So when we make this pitch, and I'll discuss with the group, maybe we can come up with a better name, but when you think about this and when you talk to people about this, please express it broader, because
Yes.
across it, and it goes to the issue that you're talking about of how it's a full-time job.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm very mindful, when you think about fair housing, if you had a chance to speak, and I'm sure Brian, maybe many others have, in our housing commission, they've done some really good work in the fair housing lane. And I think, to what you're mentioning, Elizabeth, how can we kind of weave all this together into a position, right? Not just, ADA senior liaison, but don't make it so narrow, but kind of broaden the scope of which this position would do, right? But also set realistic expectations, because I also know if you add on too much, then the person can't really be a subject matter expert in anything. So we need to understand what our focus of effort is going to be. So I'm open to the whole, the other aspects of this conversation where this, rolling in fair housing, ADA compliance, all that in a nutshell. We have some documents on it. We've received some information from our housing commission on it as well. So we'll see what we can do. All right.
Good. And I
All right.
cut off, Karen, or I sorry, Karen, you had made a good point and I got so excited.
All
Sorry.
good, all good.
I can't take my hand down, but I don't have anything to say.
So I did want to touch on, the senior ADA accessibility, and maybe we should just take out ADA and have it senior accessibility specialist. But anyways, one item that was brought up to us when the planning officer, or whatever their title is that apparently there is a staffing shortage within that office, and it's causing difficulty for, zoning checks to be done before buildings are given their certificate of occupancy. And that, I think, has been something that DAC has asked for in the past, and previous county boards have promised filling in those roles. But, we're talking about buildings that we interact with on an everyday basis that allow Arlingtonians to feel connected and be able to accomplish their tasks throughout the day, and not having that person catching the issues and then the certificate of occupancy is issued. There's really nothing, the county can do at that point. Just given what this, take the building that y'all are currently sitting in. There was a point where the renovation was finished, and then the first meeting that DAC had, we identified, I think, 5 different issues with the building in terms of the lighting around the elevator bays, bathrooms not having push buttons, bathrooms being set up in a way that were not accommodating to wheelchair users. So I think that's a prime example of why these staffing choices are critical.
Yeah.
In terms of usage, I'm not sure, I'm sure the usage level is low, and I know that's one indicator that the budget office staff uses in terms of, what positions to keep, what positions to, sunset. But I think at the end of the day, this is long-term investments in our county, and I think these staff, all staff within our county are worthy of being kept on. But, you know, in a tough budget season, when we're prioritizing, you know, priorities here, I think making sure we have a fully staffed permitting office that can also help us enforce and keep track of the snow ordinance. I think that's really a worthwhile investment for us as a county.
Thanks, Brian. Yeah, you know, a lot of time, years ago, when some of those positions unfortunately were cut or not, there's perhaps a host of reasons why. And I think what we're seeing now, you know, when you cut in the name of trying to be more efficient and you want to, kind of give other folks those roles and responsibilities, it's not necessarily a benefit, because what actually happens, you lose in the end, not only presence, but the ability to really, be on top of this stuff. And I've seen that. So I'm very careful. It's like, there's 50 some odd FTEs that are proposed to be cut in the manager's proposed budget, right? And know that I've asked the county manager and the team to give me a list by list of which department that is. It's in the 1,100 pages budget, but like lay it out on me, give me a 1 or 2 page of where they are, what departments, you can find it all there, but how were these decisions made? And so if you listen to a couple of the board sessions, budget sessions we've had, it's come up, and what they've said was, well, we're just gonna, kind of give some of the workload to other folks. Well, that's not good, right? The last budget session we had, you talked about the database administrator, which is one role. Some of these positions, we can't afford to just spread the load, because these folks' jobs have been identified as critical, and they already have an enormous amount of work on their plate. So we're going to look hard at it this year. And your point's well made about even the title, and back to what Elizabeth was saying, make it broader than just ADA liaison per se. Kind of roll it up into, and this is why you need to bring Samia in, right? In a lot of ways, because Samia, that's her department, CPHD. A lot of these decisions that are being made, again, over the years, they originate a lot of times in those offices, and understanding why sometimes folks don't know. I mean, it's on paper, but like, do you understand like what it really means at the end of the day, what's happening out here in our community? Why some of these projects in and of itself are getting built, right? And they're not, 88 self-full, for example. Anyway, I know Justin has a message, wants to talk, and I have about 6 minutes left. And then
Andrew.
Okay, good. Everybody wants to speak to me tonight. Okay. Andrew.
Sure.
Yeah.
So just backtracking to the snow ordinance.
To the what?
Snow ordinance.
Snow ordinance, yeah.
Yeah, just had a question, because as you mentioned, there's kind of an autopsy report coming out, seeing like what went well, what didn't. But I'm kind of curious to see or ask you about kind of what the county's position is, or based on the available data and anecdotes and feedback around enforcement. Just because like I know that obviously like you have to show some degree of leniency, right? And I think that was a major topic of discussion, not just in Arlington County, but also with residents and anyone in the area in general, is that at what point do you start enforcing code to landlords or to residents, right? So is there kind of like a sway beyond logistics and stuff on if that code should have been earlier or differently?
That's a great question. I can tell you in the region, everyone, and this is not to make an excuse, but everyone was impacted in a really tough way. I was actually at the grocery store or at the Snowgate, and I was behind someone, and I heard the folks talking about the complications with snow and parking. And the two folks that were talking were kind of contrasting Well, one person lived in Arlington and another person was over in, was in Alexandria. And honestly, the person, this is no knock to Alexandria, y'all doing a good job over in Arlington, because Alexandria, it sucks. Anyway, no, I'm serious. That's it. But those are just people, people make, for a number of reasons. The county manager did pause enforcement for a little while because it was so severe. And, snow stayed on the ground for 30 days. And I think what we're looking at, just the nature of what happened. And then we went back to enforcement. There was a pause. Then we gave out a few tickets. But we're also back to what Brian was talking about. Over the years, one thing we've done here in the county, we've cut the number of enforcement officers we've had here, right? So even if a person calls and says, hey, look, I need this enforced, their turnaround is usually 24 to 48 hours. So it's one of those things where, we can put in a stringent clause or within the policy to enforce it. The determination, by the county manager and the board, he called a state of emergency, right? And he gave everyone a little leeway. I think we're going to have to look at alternate approaches that if this should happen the next time. But it's not just snow, right? It's also parking in general. Even now, today in Arlington, people park in bike lanes, people park in handicapped spots and they should not, right? Or disabled spots. And they call enforcement and enforcement never comes around. So we have to look at all of that data and what folks is coming in. And I know they have a lot of it because a lot of people call. We got to see what the themes are. And I don't want to, predetermine what the outcome may be, where we know we're going to have to do something a little different. What I also can tell you is in the short period of time that we had the snow removal, how much money do you think we put toward to remove snow?
A lot.
It was excess of $4 million. And I think at the end of the day, it's probably going to be 7 to 8 at the end of the day. So there's a lot of cost incurred because our county, quite honestly, with equipment and all that, because we don't get it all the time, right? We have to get contractors coming in and doing all this stuff. So it's again, a myriad of things going on, not to make an excuse, but can we do better? I'm sure we can. I went out when it was snowing and folks were in the sidewalks up near a park was really bad. I went out and visited some of the workers from the county. I was out there and spoke with them, and even had a supervisor out there with a pitchfork trying to clear the sidewalks at the park. I mean, but Arlington is, it's a lot of parks, a lot of sidewalks, and everybody wants it clean like right now, right? So we did the best we could with what we had, but I hope we can improve. And I know we will in the future.
I just, because you got a lot of complaints, I wanted to say that, and I said this at one of the DAC meetings, my neighborhood was cleaned really quickly. And
which neighborhood was that?
It's right around Bluemont.
Oh, yeah.
And I was very impressed. And then the ice that would build up, I feel like I can't really blame the county for that because it would melt at night, freeze, and then there would be ice. So
Yeah.
I just think that I'm glad that you got complaints because people are stuck in their homes. But just know that the complaints doesn't mean that you did a complete failure. Because my street was plowed 3 times within the first 3 days before and after the event. So I did want to also mention the concrete was different. My husband goes around with a portable shovel and he ditches out curb cuts, and he's done that for years. And this year he said just doing the 2 curb cuts at the end of our street took him an hour because of the concrete. But I would recommend, I think I sent the committee the future transportation futures plan, and they asked all the different commissions and committees for recommendations, what they called strategies. And there are several strategies in there, good ones, related to snow removal. So it's a heck of a document. I guess you would have otherwise read it.
It was very unique. I mean, we had below freezing temperatures for what, almost 10 days, if not longer. And that did not help when you're talking about remediation or, removal of ice in and of itself. It was tough. I know. I hit some of that stuff with a pitchfork and a shovel, and it was, you couldn't even move it. I was like, my goodness. But anyway, I know you have
Yeah,
Laura.
let's make sure, Laura. if
Laura,
you
go
have
ahead.
anything.
I basically had a response because we at ECMB, I mean, it's not just Arlington, right? It's all over Northern Virginia. I know people in DC that just couldn't leave their homes because it wasn't, the curb cuts weren't clean and it was
Right.
basically an ice rink. And, and people with cerebral palsy who can't, have mobility issues, it's not safe. So even if the sidewalks are clean, you can't actually cross the street.
Right.
But gets the, or get dropped off by an Uber and you're facing a snowbank that you have to, it's like Mount Everest.
Yeah, but the snow's pushed up to a stop sign and it's like, yeah, 5 feet taller than you. I saw some of that. And so look, it was an issue that I think you couldn't miss it. You look right here in Clarendon where we're at, we blocked off a street over here, right? Where there were, was a snow mountain. And if anyone drove by it, it was, we took snow from the corridor here and moved it over there. It was just a lot. All right, one more question and I'm gonna have to go. Justin, you have your hand raised?
Yeah, I got two, but I'm using my AAC.
It's what?
I got two, but I'm using my AAC device
Okay.
to do the communication for it.
Okay, I got you.
Volume up. Volume down. The ADA is still pretty limited to accommodating all disabilities, so I feel we need to go for an accessibility coordinator. Snowstorm wise, we have a lot to learn. Wheelchair users using the road to get around is safe.
Not safe.
Trust me, I speak from experience. If New York City can do it a day after a storm, then frankly, Arlington can do the same or even better.
Sorry. Gets a little tired.
No, I understood, Justin, and thank you for, lifting up what you think we should need, the accessibility coordinator. I will tell you, my daughter lives in the East Village in New York City. And she actually also went back. She was down here for a little bit, then she went back when they got their second storm. And the mayor up there, he did something very unique that maybe folks have done. He encouraged folks who wanted to participate in snow removal. I think they were paying them $30 an hour. Yeah, volunteer, you could fill out a portal and it was just for the community. I mean, someone actually gave me the idea before that had happened and said, look, JD, we got a lot of teenagers and folks that are just, how about, we set up a portal or something and like let these teenagers that are, get them off their phones and make, liability, whatever, that's one thing. But perhaps in the future, if we have a snowstorm like that come in and if there's a way to do that, I'd be interested in knowing how New York made that happen. With their citizens but yeah, we're open to that. So thank you, Justin, for that. And I get it. If you're on a wheelchair or another device, you may even clear the sidewalks a little bit, but that doesn't mean like the roads and the crosswalks are not slippery and all over the place. So I get it.
I agree. And literally during the storm, I nearly got killed on South Courthouse in the neighborhood.
So we have to take accessibility in mind, even when we're clearing the streets, because if the snow plows are coming, right, and they're pushing snow on the street, and that snow, right, comes up to an intersection where there's a crosswalk, and let's say you're in a wheelchair and you're trying to cross, you may not be able to cross because there's a 3-foot snowbound right in front of you. Then what do you have to do? That means you have to go out into the street where traffic is, come back, and I've seen it. And so like the conscience and the presence of mind, even when we give direction to our contractors and folks who are going to work on they got to like keep that in mind when they're doing this work in our community. All right. So I got it. And I'm going to let y'all get back to what you're doing. It's been great. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you for giving us so much time. We really appreciate it.
Yes.
And we will continue to meet. you'll hear from us.
And I'll be looking forward to receiving something from Maryland through you at some point in time. Right, Maryland?
Yes, sir.
You don't have to call me sir. I'm out here working for a living, they
Why
say.
not?
Excellent.
All right.
So, I'm cognizant of time because we are gonna, at 7:20, we're gonna stop and take a 20-minute break. And those of us
I love breaks.
here in the room are gonna have some snacks. We'll give you guys virtual snacks.
Yeah,
So,
virtual snacks.
I'm gonna juggle our agenda a little bit just to get through something, because I think we have enough time to have that discussion. And so, Courtney, you've got that brochure, Andrew's brochure, because we're gonna talk a little bit about the text. It's still in draft. Elizabeth had a suggestion. And then we'll talk about the minutes after the break and all. And this break idea was Justin's idea a while back. It's something that commissioners think it's a good idea. We'll just build it into our meeting. So tonight's our
Good idea.
user testing, as Marilyn, user acceptance testing, as
There
Marilyn
you go.
calls it. So Courtney, if you can just put up the brochure that Andrew created, and I want to hear some feedback. And the idea is this will be available just in paper form at the community engagement, the Commission on Aging Community Engagement event, because as part of my remarks there, I'm going to make 3 points. I'm going to touch upon accessible transportation options available in the county. And in that same breath, I'm going to express DAC's frustration and disappointment with both snow removal in Star, and encourage folks to join with us to be part of the solution. So then I will have this recruitment brochure. Secondly, I'm going to speak briefly about some promising legislation and the work that Maryland is heading up around construction code. And then thirdly, I'm going to draw upon Elizabeth's work with transportation futures. And I'm going to focus on 4 or 5 goals and strategies that DAC is going to be up front in terms of advocacy, working with the Commission on Aging. So this is not a final version. And I do understand that we're going to have a flat text version that can be read by a screen reader, because this is a graphic image, so a screen reader is not going to read it. So Andrew, do you want to say a little bit about it?
Sure. I mean, I think it's a pretty standard looking poster. Karen and we talked a little bit and had to cut down the wording a little bit just so that it's readable and that you're not looking at it for 5 minutes and losing a potential reader's attention. So I thought that was important. Right now, as it stands, it just says what commissioners do. We're seeking 6 to 7. We're looking for people in background or lived experiences in several category areas, obviously disability, accessibility, caregiving, housing, etc. And appointments are 2-year terms and with an apply now and QR code. Now, I did see Elizabeth's feedback about including a link, which does make sense, and I do want to do that. Now, the only problem with that is obviously everything has to be in a font 12 size or larger. So I think I think it'll either look weird or just cluttered. So I'm gonna try to find a way to shorten that link so that it's also more typable when someone takes it to their device. Besides that,
Makes sense.
yeah.
I was also thinking, maybe to just say applications, or online, or on the county board website,
Yeah.
and that way you don't have to put in a whole link and people can know, oh, I just go to the county board website or something.
I think they need the link.
You need the link. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brian, what about you?
Yeah, for the point on education, I would recommend us removing that, since there is a school board advisory committee that does handle education issues, or when we say education, are we talking about community education, like awareness, or is this like, actual education?
That is a good point, since you head up that committee.
Yeah,
Yes.
same with public health, and I also saw that it was recommended in another spot. I
Mhm.
strongly believe that Medicaid is a huge topic and waivers are a huge topic. But they really are being discussed at the Developmental Disability Commission, and I don't think we have ever discussed it here in the 100 years I've been on the committee, except when one person called in and said she couldn't get an ASL interpreter, which was, I'm so glad she called in. But just because we have so many other issues and so many people care about the issue of Medicaid waivers, I wouldn't want to miss. So.
Yeah, and honestly, to that point, I think caregiving, so the Community Services Board handles um, things like Medicaid waivers and other assistance programs for, they do focus more on the service modules. Whereas I think this commission, we focus more on the physical environment. So, the housing, transportation, design, stuff like that. But I think for service delivery, that's more with the Community Services Board through the Department of Health and Human Services. Just, yeah.
This is Karen again. So what I'm hearing is perhaps for the box that is the header is seeking 6 to 7 commissioners with lived or professional experiences in. What I'm hearing is to have listed 1 disability, 2 accessibility, 3 housing, 4 transportation, 5 design, 6 technology. And my thought is, do we want a 7th one that's just advocacy? Because advocacy can be education, advocacy can be outreach. It can be someone who in another area of expertise has lots of experience in communications and marketing and advocacy. So that would be my suggestion, to add that, but to take out public health and education.
I agree with advocacy. That's a big one. I do have a input when you're ready.
Go ahead.
What bothers me in the big blue box, I'm just going to read it. Provide, meet, join, collaborate. Advocate, maybe I need to move up there. I don't know, but the thing is, it sounds like we don't do anything. I'm being facetious. We provide input. If that's a role, because the word advisory, the advisory, my problem is I'm more of an action person, make change, see something, do something.
Are we influencing county policies and programs that affect residents, or impact county policies and programs that affect residents with disabilities?
I'm not sure yet. I'm thinking out loud here. Maybe it is all under the provide input on county policies and programs that affect residents with disabilities. That's probably the most actionable, versus join working groups, collaborating, and meeting monthly. That first bullet is really, really important. Maybe that's enough.
Can I weigh in on that?
Yes,
Sure.
please.
So the more appropriate term is sort of serving our residents of Arlington County, more or less. But that's kind of is a bleak area when we look at it. For me, when I look at every commissioner, I see everyone as a public servant, more or less, but serving to help advocate for more change to the Arlington County Board and to Arlington itself. So technically, we're serving the residents of Arlington County. So public servants.
This is Karen again. What I wrote down for number one potentially is serve to improve county policies and programs that affect residents with disabilities.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
It's good to me.
Thank you, Justin. Just saying serve really kind of spun it around.
Like we're all brought into this to help serve the people and get their needs met. And we need to treat it as such.
So if we get that word up front, it's clear.
So I'm making edits as you guys are talking about it. So I struck education and public health, and I added advocacy and moved technology up. Do you think public policy is appropriate at all?
I think advocacy
Just advocacy.
encompasses all of that. That's the beauty. Like to have somebody put themselves forward with an application and they've worked in the whole range of advocacy, public service, public policy, legislation.
Right.
Laura, any feedback from you? Because you're in this advocacy field.
Yeah, I like, and this is actually readable with screen reader.
Is it?
Now, yeah,
Good.
I think there's two graphics at the bottom that it just, but I mean, the screen reader, it doesn't do well with graphics. So that's, but I can read all the text.
Good, good.
Wondering how we can strengthen the joint working groups bullet. Because I think the point that we're trying to highlight there is that there's maybe like working groups that focus on specific issues, topic areas.
Yeah.
Do we initiate?
We could say, educate working groups on issues of importance to disability. Because that's really what we're doing when we join. We're saying, so for example, Karen, well, we've been working with the Aging Commission, and so much of what we've had to ask about is accessibility. So we're kind of informing them, or ensuring county commissions and working groups focus on accessibility, something like that.
So I feel like there's two sides almost to the point. I mean, it's the same as what you're saying, Elizabeth, but there's the kind of a focus groups where we're like working groups that are focusing on specific issues. And then that in turn informs whoever it is, other, county board members, members of the community.
So join Arlington County commissions to, I'm sorry, I can't come up with it. Not like we're not collaborating, we are collaborating,
right.
But we're also advising on, and actually, I didn't even notice this, but we don't have to say focused on accessibility projects. We sometimes just join because it's transportation related and we want to infuse accessibility.
It's intersecting.
Accessibility issues. We could say, you know, one word could be infuse accessibility into just all the working groups.
This idea, like, do we necessarily have to say that we meet monthly in a hybrid format? They can figure that out on the website. So if we go back to the first point, that it's about service, and then we go to Laura's point about these working groups are sort of in two areas. Could we take out meet in a monthly hybrid format and have number one be serve? Number two, you're going to collaborate with county staff and I think you're collaborating with county staff, commissioners and citizens, because it's not just us as commissioners, it's other citizens and other commissioners. And then could we come up with language to split that, join working groups focused on accessibility projects, split it in two? And Laura, we need you to help us with that.
Well, I liked the verb like inform, but also I like engage. So
And we could use them both.
Yeah, engage with working groups, and then also, you know, educate commissions on, or I like just inform. The working groups are doing so much and they're never looking at accessibility issues. So we are involved with them on much more than accessibility projects. We're involved with them on their general projects, ensuring they include accessibility. I know that doesn't help, but I like splitting it into.
I mean, it's literally informing county decisions. And then what you just said about ensuring that that accessibility and disability are part of it.
Right, but mentioning in terms of working groups and commissions is valuable because because the commissions make recommendations, and we want to make sure that their recommendations include a disability focus. So it's not just I mean, I think when you said join working groups, you meant commissions and advisory councils, right?
I meant like on our own commission, because we have so much work to be done. So that join working groups focused on accessibility projects.
Oh my gosh,
much more inward focused. But what I'm hearing from Laura and you and others, it's that aspect of outward focus that we're informing county decision-making through the lens of accessibility or disability.
Yes.
So I think it's both.
Yeah, it is. I think it is both. So could we simplistically take out the meet monthly in a hybrid format and put a general statement about inform county decision making through the lens of disability and accessibility? And remember, this is a pilot form. If I talk to people and I hand them the form and Elizabeth does this community engagement event, and they go, huh? Then maybe we'll need to do it again.
Well, could we just change, I mean, in addition to what you just suggested, can we change join, participate in commission meetings to ensure a disability focus? I mean, because join working groups, that means nothing to me unless you're talking about other working groups. And what are the working groups? I mean, I didn't get that point at all across, if that's what you meant. If that's what you meant, Karen. And anybody who's on a commission knows there's going to be working groups. So we don't really need to include that. It's more.
Is it lead working groups focused on accessibility projects, which is internal, because frankly,
yeah, that's
because
good.
frankly, everybody here is leading some aspect of something for DAC.
Oh, I like that. Lead working groups. Yeah, that's good.
And
mean-
then we still need that inform, which is an outward focus. And I think Andrew, you had an idea about that.
Well, I was just gonna read through the updated bullet points.
Go ahead.
To see if we're closer aligned with what we're looking for. So right now, serve to improve county policies and programs that affect residents with disabilities. That's point one. Point two, inform county decision making through the lens of disability. Point three, lead working groups focused on accessibility projects. Point four, collaborate with county staff, commissioners, and citizens.
I like
Yeah.
that.
And I
Yep.
think that a monthly hybrid format is sort of a footnote. It's almost like a, it's in a major bullet, I wouldn't think.
No, it could go, and
It
it's
could
on the
go.
website. Yeah.
And
I mean, if we had to think, if you were interviewed right now in an elevator speech, all of us, what would we say the commissioners do? What do we do?
I think
And I-
we lead, serve, I think we serve, I think we lead, I think we inform, and we advocate.
Yep, I like that. That's really, those are the key words that I think need to be there for sure. But this advisory, the thing that is kind of confusing when I first joined was an advisory commission. But we do more than that. And I think this is starting to pick that up. Because I got confused about that. We're out doing a lot more than advising. But we are advising, and we're taking action, and then we're advising in a two-step process.
So in the interest of time, and because this is for the 16th, 1 week from now, and Courtney's going to help us get this printed and all, I'd like to see if there is a motion to approve it in its pilot form. And Elizabeth and I will be at this event. We can gauge what the reaction is if we get some puzzled stares or people are very excited about it. So is there a motion to put this forward and create this recruitment brochure and use it in a pilot format at the event?
So moved.
Okay, and a second?
I'd like to see it again. I can't, we're saying it. I'd like to see it. Is there any way to put that up before we leave the meeting tonight?
I think Andrew, you can just update it and send it to Courtney and Courtney can put it
Yeah,
up.
that would be great. That would help.
Okay, let's do that. Let's put it
One
up.
last thing, one last thing. Could I, am I allowed to put in an amendment to the, anyway, I'm just gonna say it. Does it automatically come out in Spanish on the back? And if not, can we put it in Spanish on the back?
Courtney, you said it's not required. If we needed to translate it, I don't know if there's time.
Right, our communications team has said it's not required, however, just be mindful of the audience.
Okay, well then,
Yeah.
this is a pilot, so.
Yeah, okay, so we are going to take a 20-minute break. It is 7:30 exactly, so we're gonna come back at 7:50. Those on the screen, you can log off and log back on. Those here, I'm gonna put out some snacks. You can leave the room, you don't have to talk to us, or you can